Welcome to Twitch Lace D&D, a Twitch stream in which you guys get to play as the 5th member of our party. If you haven't noticed, this isn't Twitch, this is YouTube. And the reason why is because we are doing a recap video of our prologue, our first 17 sessions. We recognize they had some sound issues, and we didn't want you guys to have to watch all of that to be caught up on today's episodes. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. It all starts off with Blackston and Nova and Israfel and Kowloona meeting in the same hamlet. The two parties of two merge and begin their adventure together. Upon delving into this old and ancient ruins, our big furbolg friend Kowloona steps on some crickety rocks, and Israfel plummets 15 feet, taking some damage, finding himself in a strange workshop of ancient and old items. Inside this workshop, a magical aura is emanating from this pile of rocks. They start to unfurl these rocks and pull out old Warforged. When finally breaking free, comes to life. That is the 5th character, Bot the Adventurer, which you will be playing on our live stream. After discovering Bot, they head back to Driftwood. Kowloona and Israfel meet their way back to Mother Nor and let her know that they've solved their problems. However, upon entering, a small little halfling by the name of Brother Martine finds very much interest in Bot, and realizing that they show some potential to be an artificer. With the completion of this quest, the party goes and enjoys their time in the tavern, where they are subtly slipped a note of a concerned individual regarding the 3 murders that have been taking place in the slums of town. And they are informed of the whereabouts of the 3 individuals that were murdered. They think it's a wise idea to become a decoy. They spend an hour of my time buying clothes. They all exit the speakeasy, where Bot eventually becomes isolated while everyone else is hiding out of sight. Out of nowhere, a robed figure jumps from the building atop, striking at Bot. The party ends up defeating this being. They come across a very chilling note that says, "Send a message. Do what it takes." With a key with the words C8 written on it. They head to the local inn, and C8 works. They investigate further and realize there's only one lead left. They head to the Draconic Meadery. After misleading the owner at the meadery, who was a kind widow, they finally get to speak to the man in charge, where they have reason to believe that he is the man in charge for setting out these hits. After some investigation and a little bit of interrogation, they have enough evidence and get him locked up for a trial. Mr. Jason Arnold Chansey has now been arrested. After defeating the one who was terrorizing the slums of Driftwood, they head back to Brother Martine, who teased them off on some information. They should head back into the ruins they found Bot, because maybe there's more to his origin story. Party obliging, decide to go, and knowing that some of these items might be worth a value, took a horse and a cart all the way up to the old ruins. Time travel a bit, they get to the ruins, with Nene at the very top, a wonderful, cheery horse. They eventually delve deeper and deeper into this dungeon, where they find a room that has been cleaned out by a gelatinous cube. They solve the small puzzle that's in there, and then make their way to an untouched laboratory where Bot the Adventurer was created. After some time exploring, they find that there's a little chair that seems to fit Bot and only Bot, literally only Bot. No one can fit in this. It would be super uncomfortable. It's like no padding whatsoever. Anyways, Bot takes a seat on this small little chair custom to him when the power of his core starts returning energy back into this small little lab. He regains some memories that were his, some memories that weren't his. After his vision was finished, the ruins start to collapse, and the party gets the heck out of Dodge, and just barely, and I mean just barely, with 1 HP remaining, survives the crumbling of these ruins and makes their way out. They realize they're alive, but just them. When they realize where Nene was previously standing, it is now at the bottom of this chasm of ruins, in which the party mourns for the horse. They can't mourn for more than 20 minutes of real time, right? Wrong. The party then begins to argue about whose fault is it that Nene died, and they proceeded to argue about that for the next 5 sessions. After arguing the entire walk back to Driftwood, Mother Nora asks them to do a simple fetch quest because she doesn't have a vehicle anymore to pick up and transport new acolytes. The party was only asked to go to Twin Oaks, pick up 3 acolytes, come home. Well, on the way there was a random encounter in which they discovered that there was a bard in the woods. Israfel doesn't like bards. Eventually, they get to Twin Oaks, and things are going swimmingly. They meet the acolytes, they tell them when to meet the next morning for their adventure, when Blackston gets punched in the face by some random drunk guy at the bar. Well, it turns out, Blackston has this backstory of him doing something, and everyone was concerned. After a small scuffle, the party persuades the guards to just let them sleep in their beds, and they'll be out the next morning, early as nothing. Anyways, Blackston sort of sneaks out that night and interrogates Brody, the man who punched him in the face, from his backstory. And then Cal and Bont go on a 1.5-hour adventure and try to interrogate this prisoner in their little drunk tank. Regardless, they make their way out and they get back to Driftwood finally. Upon returning with these acolytes, Mother Nora is distraught and troubled. She needs to head to Falkirk, but asks the party to go in her stead to find out why they lost communication with the church up there. Upon arriving to Falkirk, they realize that the town has been set ablaze and is burning down in certain areas. However, all of the people are gone, and it's clear to see that they have been abducted from their homes and taken from their town. The party follows the tracks to this what seems to be a small cave, but upon entering, it is another fracture of the citadel that was once Bot's home. They defeat all the troglodytes inside, and even charm one to become their friend. He'll be formerly known as Rock. Rock is going to be very unhelpful to the party, and they don't know that yet. Anyways, they get to the top and final part of this mountainous tower, where they encounter their first villain. Inside, they see what was once a laboratory where they studied mind flayers. Inside are 3 capsules with a dead mind flayer, a living mind flayer, and the bones of a mind flayer. They end up killing the small, weak mind flayer that is currently in a stasis, when another one appears from the side and whispers to them, "Stop. Do not do this." This is where they engage in their first fight with Vasigax. He is most likely maybe gonna come back as a potential villain in the future. They end up weakening this mind flayer, where the mind flayer disappears, off into another plane of existence. Anyways, the party leaves that area and goes back, finds a couple orphans just hanging out in the town of Falkirk, in the old Church of Ilmater. Turns out both those guys were dead, so that's totally fine. And then they headed back to Driftwood. Oh, one more thing. The town was super grateful when, you saved their lives. So they gave the party a horse and a cart to go with it to take the kids back to Driftwood. This horse is known as Steady. He might be a reoccurring character. I really don't know. That's a good question. Anyways, new occurrence in town. Some wizards have now shown some interest in the area. Israfel, super interested in the wizards. Cal, super helpful to Israfel. They end up striking a deal with one of the headmasters of one of the schools of magic there, and Calaluna gave the body of a mind flayer to a very eccentric female elf. They ended up striking a deal with her, and now have a small connection with the Edgemount Academy of the Arcane Arts. This will come into play in 20 seconds. Anyways, Nova had a vision that evening and was given a hint to head up to Judgment Keep. There, she'll find the answer to one of the marks that is haunting Calaluna's right arm, for he has been branded by some curse of some kind. The next day, they head back to the Edgemount Academy of the Arcane Arts, in which they have an interesting conversation with one of the professors. He is willing to then teleport them all the way to Edgemount, which is a little bit closer to Judgment's Keep. On their journey up to Judgment's Keep is when Calaluna is visited by his maybe patron? This entity comes to Cal Luna in his dream and whispers to him that he has been found. Terrified, he freaks out and needs to get up to Judgment Keep ASAP. They finally make their way up to Judgment's Keep and, without too much struggle, are able to find the mystical Colette, who offers them some divination and some help in finding out what Cal's backstory truly is, for he knows very little. After a scry, a commune, and a greater restoration, Cal finally got his memories back. And this is where we leave off, with our 5 adventurers heading up north to Diadem to finally delve into the history of Calaluna. And that is all that you should need to know if you want to play with us here at Twitch Slays D&D. We hope to see you guys on our next adventure. See you soon.